YouTube, how the heck you doing? This is Corey here with Watcher of Realms. We're back with another one. This is VOD review, so we're against Horde Immortal. I believe this isn't Destin's Horde. He's in another one. But basically we went against this guild. They're super good. They had a lot of good defenses, and so it's a fun war. It does look like we're going to go ahead and win this one relatively comfortably, but they got some teams, right? So let's just kind of go ahead and see what worked, what didn't work. I went ahead and chowed a couple of teams just for research purposes. I wanted to see like how did those teams kind of function, and some of them are actually kind of disgusting. So let's just go ahead and get straight to it. This is a Ingrid, Wukong, Maul, Brokir, Lily team. So they went ahead and placed it like this. So the first things I'm going to go ahead and do is probably trigger Ingrid because I want to put her into single target mode. So I'm going to drop the flyer. Here we go. And all I need is this flyer to survive at least 1 or 2 Ingrid hits and then a Maul ult. If this flyer can go ahead and do that, it's going to trigger Ingrid to go into stellar mode. And that makes this run a billion times easier. So let's see. The flyer goes ahead, survives, tanks the second one, and bam, it just went ahead and triggered Ingrid to swap modes. So perfect. At this point, we go ahead and set up the destroyer, and the destroyer's job is mainly just to go ahead and overwhelm Wukong and force out any A1 passive if it has it. The next step is to go ahead and drop a second destroyer here, because once again, the goal is to go ahead and force Wukong to use his passive, monkey business. Also to potentially trigger Brokir passive if we're super lucky. Just kind of speed this up. And here we go. Everything's looking great now. Drop double mages, and this kind of sets up the overwhelming amount of damage. That's AoE, right? So mages should go ahead and hit. Now, bam. We just proc Lily passive on Wukong. And then hit again. We just force Brokir's passive now. So both passives have been procced. So Wukong should be susceptible to any massive points of damage now. Let's give this a second. And here we go. This should go ahead and do it now. Bam. They go ahead and kill both Brokir and Wukong instantaneously. Mages, they should survive and get 1 hit off ideally, but they don't. So what happens is the flyer will go ahead, kind of clean up the mess that we made, right? It's going to go ahead and zap Maul right about now. Dead. And then zap Ingrid. There we go. And then the final set of dogs are able to go ahead and run through. And that's GG. So, super strong team. The only way through it was killing both Wukong and Brokir. So, not the most reliable strategy because obviously Brokir can kind of get wonky and freeze the units. But this time it looks like we got a little bit lucky and we're able to run through it. This time I decided to go ahead and attack this Praetus Torador team. I really just wanted to see how it functioned because normally you don't see a team like this. So 2 things that I know is 1, it's very likely that Praetus might melt the units, and 2, Ardia might do the same thing. So how this team kind of functions is a little bit interesting. We drop the tank, the Pharaoh Guard, to kind of proc Praetus ult. And that's successful. Then we drop Maw, because our hope is to go ahead and kind of kill out Torador. And we drop the Fool to go ahead and give Maw some sustainability. But here's the thing, this map is so long that almost the Fool just takes way too long to get to Maw. We drop axes now because we just went ahead and procced Torador's ult. So we really need Maw to kind of survive this additional point of damage. But what I kind of mess up on is I drop these axes just a little bit too early, in my opinion. Because here's what happens. Maw doesn't go ahead and kill out Torador, and then the axes basically get instantly melted in the process, right? The axes didn't really do anything productive, so I just wasted a set of axes. So at this point, it's kind of like panic mode. My main hope is for the axes to go ahead and kill Torador, but that's probably not going to happen, right? Ma was able to proc him, but these axes, they just kind of fail to survive, and they also just get stunned up quite a bit. At this point, it's GG, right? Ezreal's going to constantly just chunk out the heals for Torador, keep him alive, and Praetus is going to take out the rest of the unit. So, a little bit unlucky there. Kind of like an issue. Ma just needed a little bit more HP. And that's kind of my fault too, because I affiliated Ma lower than my axes. So, maybe if I higher affiliated him, it would have worked. This one, I wanted to chow it just because I know how this team works. It's very complicated in terms of revives. So whenever you see a team like this, what's going to happen is, one, interestingly enough, Wukong's A1 passive doesn't work with Torador whenever there's a Carnelian. They kind of counteract each other. So here's what we do. We do the standard Nightmare attack, right? Drop the Night of Destruction. Go ahead and drop axes in the healer. And just run it down, right? So we're going to slow it down here, but pretty much this should go ahead and proc Torador's passive every single time, as long as you have the BP for it. And we successfully go ahead and do that. And then we set it up again. We drop the Night of Destruction, and we should go ahead and drop axes and healer shortly after. I was just a little bit slow on the draw there to drop all this. So overall, that was a mistake on my end. However, my BP is able to go and kind of take care of the rest for me. So let's speed this up. And here we go. Once again, we were able to kill Torador in the past, so we should be able to go ahead and take him out again. But Valkyra, annoyingly enough, goes ahead and procs her passive to revive him. But we still have the BP to just take him down again, especially because Valkyra doesn't have ult. So we successfully take him out. At this point, we just go ahead and drop the tank, drop another tank, and then double dogs, right? I might even stagger the dogs. Staggered them. Yep. There we go. And there we go. Right? So super simple process, but whenever you go ahead and face one of those comps, it's really, really kind of like RNG dependent, because Wukong can get the double hits and then take out one extra unit a little bit quicker than you'd anticipate, and then it gets a little bit wonky, but we were able to get through it. And then this one, this is a Praetus team. So interestingly enough, personally speaking, I honestly think Thalin is one of those units where you almost don't want to make him A3, and if you are, you kind of have to choose your placements of him a little bit differently, right? And here's what I mean. We drop the Pharaoh Guard, we drop the Fool, right? Watch this. Thalin ults. His ult brings the unit back to the same position. So realistically, he just brought him closer to my Fool, so my Fool can go and shield him. At this point, we take no damage. And then we're able to drop the Necro and the Healer pretty easily. And so all this damage that Thalin dealt with alongside Praetus to the Pharaoh Guard is just about to get healed right back up. Right? So we're looking good. And also, everyone knows this by this point because I've talked about it like a billion times, but Praetus will always go ahead and hit the skeletons every single time. He targets the lowest HP unit. So at this point, the Swarm is in full effect, right? Even though Fallen's going to go ahead and ult, there's no constants, so there's not a significant amount of damage that will be dealt by Thalin. So we can just kind of set this Swarm up pretty easily. I even go ahead and drop the dogs here. My main hope is that the dogs actually go ahead and kill Thalin. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. And if they don't, it's okay, because all my units are still getting healed. They're still tanking it up. My Necros are still dropping more skeletons. There we go. And then we have another set of dogs here. So let's kind of look into this here. So we have these 3 dogs here. They're hitting Thalin, putting pressure on him, right? And then these Necros, one spawning up. There we go. There's another set. We're putting all this pressure on these units. Now, mind you, this is kind of tricky because Brokir is going ahead and tanking a lot. Like, he really is just tanking. So what we need to do is we really need Thalin to go ahead and die here. And thankfully, our Pharaoh guards, they're the ones attacking him alongside the dogs. And here we go. That's how we go ahead and win this. It's literally because there's a lack of damage and these Necros are constantly pumping out skeletons. So it's kind of like a downside to using Thalin. He does stun, and that's part of the reason why it took so long for the units to get through, is because they're constantly getting stunned up. Fact is, whenever he goes ahead and ults, he pulls back his spear. After he pulls back his spear, he inflicts stuns, right? So that's how it worked, and that's what kept the units alive, his units alive so long. But that's also what let the swarm continue to kind of stack up, right? So we go ahead and attack this team. I wanted to just do some testing personally, very similar to the team we went against before, right? But this is about 20k BP higher, so we just run it down. Wukong ults, not a lot of damage. We go ahead and set up the axes and the healer. So we need to go ahead and proc Torador's passive. That's kind of game plan number one. If we're able to do that, we're probably in a good position. But we're not getting as much production as we need. So here we go. We go ahead and proc Torador's passive number one. We go ahead and set up the Night of Destruction. We go ahead and set up the axes and the healer right when we get to 9 cost, right? We've also go ahead and proc Torador's ult, so we're also feeling good about that. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and push enough damage to go ahead and kill Torador once, like through Carnelian, and then the second time through Valkyria. So this is where the run gets a little bit interesting, because now we're going against 2 revive mechanics versus just one with Carnelian. So we go ahead and set everything up, and we're looking pretty good, right? Our axes should go ahead and make contact. There we go. Carnelian, there we go. And then we go ahead and still tanking. And then now we go ahead and proc Valkyria. So we need to kill him again. But we actually got knocked up and stunned. And it looks like we got a couple double hits in from Torador passive. So unlucky, but this is going to be a GG loss. Primarily just because there was too many revives with this team. One of the things with Guild v Guild, at least with teams like this, is, dude, there's so many revives. It's like you got to kill the units like 20 times. So obviously a BP issue there, right? Could have definitely gone ahead and killed it, but axes didn't survive long enough, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and see this team. This is another kind of research, right? So this is different than using an Ingrid team. Kind of similar because you're using Iron Borus. So my goal is to go ahead and proc ult here, or passive. But we just get frozen. We proc it, so we're looking good. And then we go ahead and drop Maw here. So I'm really just watching this just for my own purposes, because I want to see like what worked and what failed. What failed is we probably have to kill Brokir twice, and Maw just eats damage. It's probably what it is. You should go ahead and use his ult any second here. There we go. And that goes ahead and procs Lily. Ah, the fool gets frozen too, so he doesn't even get to put the shield on Maw. How long is he frozen? Oh my god. I feel like he was frozen for like a really long time there. That's probably what kind of kills the run, because he doesn't even get a shield on Maw. So he loses. Interesting. Interesting. Can't really avoid that. Only thing I could use is maybe dropping a second fool. Interesting. This team. Oh wait, this is Fuller's attack. Let me get out of this. Let me get out of this. I thought that was my attack for a second. Let's go back. Personal record. I was like, I don't remember using bombs. I don't do that ever. Here we go. Similar team to like most of the. Honestly, I feel like Lily's better for these Nightmare teams than Carnelian, just because she gives the revive and she heals. So Torador's not like low HP. So main goal is to go ahead and kind of see if this attack works. I wanted to just do some testing. So this is another strat. I wanted to see if I can go ahead and pop Wukong from the front. And if I'm able to, then a solid run. But it fails like horrendously, right? Basically, Wukong alongside like Arrogance and everything just genuinely does too much damage for the destroyers to kind of handle. Also, realistically speaking, now that I think about it, destroyers are probably the worst units to use against Torador, because whenever he stuns them, they don't get to hit, right? And he kind of resets them over and over and over again. So, not good. Yep. Even if you're like watching it, like, just kind of look at it. The axe is going to proc Torador. That's good, right? But the destroyer, he's doing absolutely nothing. Useless. So yeah, destroyers just don't work. The best bet for that team would have probably just been to run it down with a standard Nightmare comp or Nightmare attack. So learned lesson, right? And then this one, this guy's actually cool. I spoke to him. We go ahead and attack this team. Now, I now know this is the A1 Torador and this is the A5 Kagiri. But here's kind of like a showcase as to just how much damage Kagiri does in his range, because it's actually kind of like crazy. So we go ahead, and I figured out how to beat this like later on. Like, I have an idea, but I go ahead and drop Maw first, right? My main hope is I want to go ahead and just tank out Kagiri. I'm not thinking Kagiri is going to do that much damage to me. And then I'm going to be able to drop the Fool, kind of shield it up and keep it pushing. Watch what Kagiri does. He goes ahead and ults. Not bad, right? Just does half my Maw's HP. And then he also has his ult again that he goes ahead and procs like right after this. And then bam, Maw is gone. Maw doesn't even do anything. Honestly, like, the better bet, right, the proper thing to have done is probably go ahead and drop dogs first, force Kagiri's ult, and then I could have probably ran this down. Because, dude, Kagiri did like half HP in 2 seconds. It's insane. See, like, the Fool is literally saying, like, yo, what happened? Like, dude, what happened? Literally. I don't know either. And so we just run it down with axes and healer. And here's what happens. It's actually kind of successful, but we go ahead and we proc Lily ult, and then we drop axes and healer again, and we proc Torador's passive. So that's a success, but we lack the necessary damage to kind of seal the deal on the rest. So that's where this run kind of fails overall. So I quit it, right? But A5 Kagiri, absolutely disgusting. The range on that ult was ridiculous. So have some new data to kind of look through, kind of sift through and see a way to effectively, consistently like counter that. Anyways, those were the attacks versus Horde Immortal. Good luck to them on their kind of pursuit for Overlord. They're pretty good, so I think they'll make it. Anyways, see ya.